There was once a boy who lived in a village where noise was constant. Not just sound, but opinions, comparisons, schedules, expectations. Every day someone told him what he should do, who he should be, what he was missing. He wore clothes others approved, chased goals others admired, laughed when he was supposed to, hid when he wasn't. But one morning he woke up and couldn't hear himself anymore. The world was louder than his own thoughts, and in that silence, his silence, he felt lost. He went to the edge of the village where the trees whispered instead of shouted, where there were no mirrors, no crowds, no schedules, just space. There, he met an old man sitting by a quiet stream. The boy asked, "How do I hear myself again? Everything is so loud." The old man looked up slowly and said, "Then stop listening to everything else." He handed the boy a small bell. "Walk into the woods. When you no longer hear this bell, you'll start hearing you." The boy hesitated, then stepped into the forest. One sound fading, another waiting. With every step deeper into the forest, the bell grew fainter, the birds louder, the breath slower, and the boy's thoughts clearer. At first, old voices followed him. "You're not enough. Try harder. Be better." But with no one around to agree with them, they began to fade. Soon the bell was gone. All he could hear was wind, leaves, his own heartbeat. He sat beside a tree, closed his eyes, and asked the question he had never dared to ask. "If I stop performing, who am I?" The answer didn't come in words. It came in stillness. If you've been lost in the noise, subscribe and tap the bell. Your real voice lives beneath the volume. Hours passed, or maybe days. He didn't know. Time had no urgency here. He began to notice things, the rhythm of his breath, the space between thoughts, the way silence held him without judgment. He remembered how often he had spoken just to fill space, agreed just to avoid conflict, smiled just to be accepted. But now there was no one to impress, no one to perform for. And yet he didn't feel empty. He felt full, not with noise, but with presence. He began to see that the self he had built for others was just an echo. But here, this was voice. When he returned to the edge of the forest, the old man was still there, quiet as before. The boy sat beside him, not to ask another question, but just to be, to share the quiet, not fill it. The old man asked, "Did you find what you were looking for?" The boy nodded. "I didn't find a new version of me. I found the one that was there before the noise." The old man smiled. "Then you've remembered something most forget. You are not your opinions. You are not your followers. You are not your noise." He returned to the village, but this time he brought silence with him. The noise was still there, the opinions, the pressure, the constant doing. But now it passed through him instead of living in him. He no longer reacted to every voice. He responded only when it aligned with who he truly was. He walked slower, spoke softer, listened deeper. Not to disappear, but to stay connected to something louder than the noise, his own presence. And every time the world tried to pull him back into its storm, he closed his eyes, breathed in, and remembered who he was before the noise.